Welcome to Q&A Selling Online, with answers to questions about creating an online empire, promoting products, or building a brand. Your host, private label and e-commerce entrepreneur, Quinn Amorm.
Welcome to the show, my friends. Today we have a special guest who is a serial entrepreneur, an international speaker, and a world traveler. The purpose of his life is to be radiant love, share extreme abundance, and inspire others to feel fully alive. He is an expert making things easy, actionable, and fun. He helps his students transform their health, take control of their minds, and create enterprises destined for success. And all this with ease. He went from being fired from every single job he had to currently running 2 businesses, and I believe he's working on a third. And he actually was relieving the world from global obesity, or trying his best by selling snack foods that satisfy our cravings in a radically healthy manner. So we are going to welcome today Hunter Reid. What's up, Harrison?
Hi, Quinn. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I'm so glad that we've been able to talk for a little bit before the show, and I got to know how great of a human being you are. And I think that's really important for your listeners to know. You know, Quinn's a guy who spends a ton of his free time adding value. He runs numerous podcasts for his audience for free and won't let anything tarnish the value or the education he offers. He bought a book. I'm sure many people know this. He bought a book, the rights to a book on relieving depression. And right after he did that, numerous celebrities started, killing themselves, and depression became this huge public outcry. And with that is this massive opportunity for some guy with his rights to a book who that could help people, get out of depression. He could sell a ton of copies for a lot of money and make a ton of money. And what does Quinn do? Quinn releases it to everyone for free because he just cares so much about humanity and making it a better place. So I'm just so grateful to be on your show. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Harrison. And there's a lot of people that knew that. There's some that didn't know, but I did name it Rebuild Your Mind, and there's a podcast where I released the audio portion of that book, and it's there for free. 8 chapters, so there's 8 episodes, and it's called Rebuild Your Mind. I also made a website for that called rebuildyourmind.com, and it's still live last time I checked, and you can get the book there for free. So go there, download it if you need. And if there's anybody there with depression or thinking that you may have depression, just check it out and get it. It's free. So
yeah, and I think that's really important. We talked a little bit about this before, but I struggled with depression for almost my entire life, for about 20 years of my life, and it's really tough. And it's really isolating, and it's really hard to go out there and get help. And so having a free resource like this audiobook that Quinn released could be really valuable in helping those out there, those of you who may be struggling with depression. And, one of the biggest things that helped me get out of depression was just getting out of my head and focusing on others. Last year, I was at this seminar, and there was this activity, and basically the basis of the activity was butterflies have really beautiful wings, but butterflies can't see their own wings. No butterfly can see their own wings. They don't understand their own greatness. And so in this exercise, the leader of the seminar he taped butterfly wings to all of our backs, and we were going around writing people's greatness on their backs without them even knowing. And I was actually in a bad place at the time. And I was really excited. I was like, oh my God, I'm coming in, I'm in a bad place, and people are going to tell me how great I am. And I got really excited. And so, basically I would run around the room and I would write, compliments on as many people as I can, because I knew if I wrote them a compliment, they'll write me a compliment back. And so I wanted as many compliments as I could get, and I had to write onto other people as many so I can get the maximum amount of compliments. And what happened throughout the exercise is by the time the exercise was done, I was having so much fun writing compliments on other people and appreciating others that I didn't want to stop. And so I haven't even looked at my wings, because the exercise had nothing to do with how great I was. Even though I was in a bad place, I was feeling depressed, and I wanted people to tell me how great I was. That doesn't help at all. What helped me was getting out of my head and trying to see how great other people are and appreciating them and giving compliments. Because when you contribute to others, that's when we're most happy. And that's kind of how I got out of my depression, my long-term depression, by figuring out who I can help, who I can serve. How could I make the world a better place?
That's such a fascinating way to look at it with that exercise of butterfly wings. Yeah, so
it blew my mind. I did not expect that at all.
And you mentioned earlier that you had at one point you suffered from obesity. That's probably how you got depressed, right? And you're looking at you right now. Of course, there is not even a bit of obesity left, right? You are fit as you can be, and so how did that happen?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And we discussed earlier, and I told you about my obesity and how that might have been a cause for the depression. I'm not completely sure. I may have been obese and depressed. Obesity definitely did not help me be a happier person. But I'm sure there was other stuff going on, and being internal, like I was talking about before. But yeah, I was obese pretty much my entire life, and it's really tough. Like it's hard to get out of. It seems like a huge mountain to climb. Like you're just always wishing you weren't that way. But losing weight it's not. You can't do it overnight. And so the first thing you have to really just figure out is like, what do you want? Like, do you want to have a flat belly? Do you want a six pack? Like, do you want to have more energy? Do you want to, feel better? And when I started my vision, I wanted a six pack more than anything. And, a six pack to me, like attribute as not being heavy. And so I chased after a six pack. And what I realized on the journey was like, six pack doesn't make me happy, doesn't make me feel good. What makes me feel good is eating good. And so the way I truly ended my obesity was I didn't figure out, my mom taught me that whatever I eat dictates how I'm going to feel in a few hours. And I started to really see that. Like I would feel really bad. And, when good things are going on and I'm like, why am I feeling so bad? And I realized it's like, because I ate that bag of, chemically processed foods a couple hours ago and it's totally affecting my mood. So every time I approach a meal, I ask myself, like, how is this going to make me feel? And when I do that, healthy foods start tasting better because I'm tasting the good feelings I'm going to have later from eating that food.
Yeah, I can really relate to that. So I'm going to let you know something here that you probably don't know, and a lot of people in the audience probably doesn't know either, but I became, I've been eating plant-based diet for almost 3 years now.
Wow.
I started getting overweight and I started gaining a lot of weight. And the reason was not because I figured that eating one meat is better than eating other thing or not eating meat or that I wanted to save the world by saving the animals. My intention was to save myself. And I figured that, because everybody has a different opinion, right? Everybody has their own. And mine was that maybe plant-based would be the way to go. And I wanted to live longer, to be around longer with my kids. So I made that decision 3 years ago. Plants only, no milk, no eggs, no cheese. And I'm ending everything that is processed as well. So I'm trying to be healthy.
Wow, that's amazing. Good for you. Congratulations. It's no easy feat. So sticking to that for 3 years is really, really impressive. And how does that make you feel?
You know what? The energy that I expected to get, right, it was there because a lot of people mentioned when you do go plant-based, after a while, you're going to feel you're more energetic. And that did happen. But what nobody told me and happened was that my brain became more active. Like suddenly I could remember things better. And, man, if you think I have a problem to focus right now, when I was eating a lot of junk or overeating, and on top of that, I was overeating junk, man, it was not comparable. And then I smoked, and I also quit smoking now. This has been 5 years. So I haven't smoked in 5 years. And so on top of that altogether is a huge difference. So
yeah. You look great, Quinn. You're looking great.
Oh, thank you. I should have shaved for the interview.
You told me you were 75. You don't look a day over 30.
Well, I'm not 75, 74.
Yeah, you look fantastic. But yeah, that's what's really amazing is, we look at food and health as just like a weight thing. Like if you're overweight, you're unhealthy. If you have a six pack and big biceps, or you have a flat belly, you're healthy. It's just not the case. The fitness industry, they eat a certain way. They eat, chicken and broccoli and sweet potatoes for every single meal, every single day. And yeah, that will make your body look a certain way, but you're not feeding it. And when you're not feeding your body, you're not going to feel great. You're not going to have the energy. You're not going to have the good emotions. I have a ton of friends that are, professional bodybuilders, and like when they're training for a competition, they're just grumpy all the time. And like, it's hard to be around them, honestly. And they're always sleeping. Like, if you think that they're supposed to be so healthy, why are they asleep all the time? It's because they're not feeding their body properly. Our body needs variety. It needs different nutrients. It needs fruits. It needs vegetables. It needs good proteins. It needs good good carbs. It needs good fats. And I totally forgot where I was going with this whole sentiment, but now I remember. Basically, eating healthy is a lot more than just weight. It's about how you feel. It's about how you think. When you eat right, your brain works at just such a higher level, because if you get rid of the cloudiness, you just get into this clarity, you give the brain energy, and you're able to be more productive. You're able to solve more complex problems. You're able to be more successful if you just change the way you eat. So, food is really important to me. And you mentioned earlier that I'm starting a third venture, and I think this is the perfect time to talk about it. So I struggle with obesity for almost my entire life. It's really hard. I have a lot of friends. My family, has struggled with obesity, and, I have a lot of conversations. And, one of the hardest things is, when people are obese, they're trying to lose weight, they eat healthy. Like they do, like they eat salads all the time, and they eat lean proteins. And then it's like those tiny little moments where something happens and you just start feeling stressed, or, for me, it was a lot of depression, or, some people get angry. When you hit those sort of emotions, you just need something to help get you out of that. And so what most people that I talk to do is, they go to the corner store, they go to the drugstore, they go to the gas station, and they pick up, something that, tastes really great, and is going to help relieve their emotion just in that split second, which is what they need. Mm-hmm. But the problem is when you start putting that food in your body, as I talked about earlier, like food dictates how you feel. So you put that, processed food in your body, it gives you like, 10 seconds of feeling better. And then an hour later, you're even more stressed. You're even more depressed. You're even more angry. And you got to reach for another bag. And that's really what keeps people from, losing weight. It's not about dieting or eating healthy. Like people are doing that. It's about when you have those, emotional times and you need that relief. And so, my company that we're launching in March, it's called Koohlah. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll get updates on when we're launching. Basically, what we're doing is we're creating foods that help feed that same sort of emotional response, but that are radically good for you and help you feel good, and help you feel energetic, and help you get that clarity of mind where you'll break the cycle, you'll beat the cycle, you'll get out, you'll take control of your health, you'll lose the weight, you'll feel great. And it's just through a bag of, snacks that we have. And we're launching with a seasoned tortilla chip, which is really delicious. If you like Doritos, we have a similar taste profile, but we're really good for you, and we help you feel better. So look out for that.
So it's called Koohlah, and it's spelled with the Koohlah. Right. Looking at it from here, to me, I don't know if everybody has the same perception, almost looks like a Hawaiian word. Is it? Or no?
It's actually a creation from Afrikaans. So the way I like to say it, it's Koohlah. It's oo and ah with a K and an L. Because, when you eat something good, you're like, ooh, ah. So that's sort of how I help people remember spelling it. But, originally we had the name for a company. It was called Mocha. This was way back in the day. We've been working on this project for a really long time. And, when we started, it was all about low carb, high protein, because that was sort of, the trend that was going on. And as I talked about earlier, like fitness and losing weight, it's all about low carb and high protein. So we just said, let's call it Mocha. And, we tried to go for the trademark, and we were rejected. and we were setting up our branding. So like I had 24 hours to come up with a new name. And I basically just typed every word I could think of into Google Translate, like healthy, delicious, mouth-watering. And, eventually I typed low carb into Afrikaans, and, it's Koohlah, and I just shortened that to Koohlah. And we've stuck to that, even though our company is completely transformed. We're no longer low carb. I mean, we are still low carb, high protein, but we're so much more. When you think about the micronutrients in the product, we have good, healthy fats. We're high in fiber. We don't have any chemicals, no artificial sweeteners. We really have strict, heavy guidelines on what is healthy. And, to us, what is healthy? Well, it'll make you feel great. It'll make you think more clearly, and it'll help you lose weight. And so we've evolved, but we've kept the name Koohlah because we think it's really fun to say.
There you go. Impressive.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep my eyes open for that. And you mentioned you're going to be selling it on the shelves, and that's for that exact reason, is because the people that need it the most are the ones that are looking for that immediate gratification when they're at a store or at a gas station. Isn't that right?
Right, exactly. So we have a two-pronged approach. We'll be direct to consumer and in retail. We're launching online on Kickstarter in March. That's a way to get our product out there and get it into the hands of, people that can, help us promote it. And, people are really excited and they want it as soon as possible. And for us to sell it on Kickstarter, it enables it to get into our customer's hand quicker. But, you hit it right on the nail, right? We're going after a consumer where, they're making their bad decisions, when their emotions are in a bad place. And when their emotions in a bad place, they're not going to go to a website and, order a product and wait 3 days. There is a customer that will do it. And we are opening the possibility and allowing people who, are dedicated and really love the product to be able to order it online just because it's really convenient. But our target customer, the people that we're really trying to help, they make these decisions in a haste. And when they make those decisions, they go to the corner store, they go to the pharmacy, they go to the gas station, and they buy the food because they need that emotional relief now. And in order for us to help them, we need to be where they are when they need that now. So our main strategy is to be in places that sell convenience food. But we also are available online for, the customer that just really loves our product and, doesn't want to have to keep going to the store and getting it.
Nice. So you're being an international speaker. You could speak at stages anywhere. Are you allowed to drop off, let's say if you wanted to talk about Koohlah, can you drop it in one of those speeches and get the entire audience to know about it? Or is that against certain rules?
So the thing about speaking, and I got into speaking. I sold my second business in March, and I can afford to live the lifestyle that I want to live. But throughout my lifetime, what really changed my life were really great speakers. I go to a lot of seminars, I go to a lot of conferences, I go to a lot of events, and like speakers, they say if you want to learn 10 years worth of knowledge, you can read a book. Well, like it's 10 years worth of knowledge in however much time you read a book. Or you can go and you can listen to someone talk for a few hours, teach you everything that they wrote in the book, which is everything they learned over 10 years. And so in an hour or 3 hours, you're learning 10 years of knowledge. So I think it's just so valuable. And it gave me so much value in my life that I wanted to give it back. So when I go up on stage, I'm never there to sell anything. I don't have coaching services. I don't want to sell you product. I just want to add value and give you everything that I have. But the great thing about speaking is that everything I have, I got from my experience. So when I'm up on stage and I'm teaching about like nutrition, or I'm teaching you about how to scale a business, or I'm teaching you about productivity, like I'm giving you examples from my own life, from building my business. And I'll talk about my business, not in the context of, hey, my business is really awesome, you should buy my product. I'll talk about it in like, hey, this is how we built this, this is what we're doing and why, because that helped us be a more productive organization. And people hear that and they'd be like, oh, I'm learning productivity, but also that company that he has sounds really cool and I'm interested in either learning more or buying the product. So I'm never on stage to sell a product, but it's what I do. It's my life. It's what I breathe. And the best way to teach is through personal experience. And my businesses are my personal experience.
And from what I understand, people do enjoy listening to you. And I actually saw a comment that somebody said that you are definitely on on the 1% of the speakers. That's a great compliment right there.
Always front and center on my webpage. I remember when Josh said that. Josh runs a company called Speak Up Challenge, and he trains speakers for a living. And when I asked him for a testimonial, he came out and he's like, Harrison, you're one of the top 1% of speakers in the world. And I was like, wow, I don't even know how to respond. That's like the greatest compliment ever. And what's really funny about things like that is, when you reach levels of achievement or success, like, when a guy who trains speakers for a living says you're the top 1%, it's really humbling. Like, you would think like, oh, that would boost your ego. But it's when you really achieve and you really exceed, it's like a really humbling experience. It's like, man, like, it's like you've wanted it for so long, like, what you've gone through to get it. And you're like, wow, it's just such a beautiful experience to have.
Yeah, you know what? I felt that several times because doing what I do, and I've done e-commerce for many years, and not all of those were like full time, but it was always a passion and something that I did for so long. And things, of course, change super, super fast in the online world. So you got to keep on learning more and more. So even though I've done it for longer than most of the e-commerce experts, there's always the little feeling, what's the name of it? The imposter syndrome.
Right, yeah.
But every time somebody comes and gives you a tap in the back and says, man, I really appreciate the help you gave me, or that was an amazing tip, or, a compliment, it all goes away. All that feeling of maybe people don't like my advice, maybe this and that. And then it comes back and you feel great again. Like, wow. Right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, I understand that. So actually, that's a really interesting point of conversation. It's not something I normally talk about, but it's really fascinating to me. It's my philosophy on life, or part of my philosophy on life, is really trying to be my 300% authentic and vulnerable self. And when you're trying to be authentic and vulnerable, you need to get rid of your ego. And when you succeed and achieve, people boost your ego. And it's really like hard to sort of, I've learned how to accept a compliment, and I appreciate compliments, and they do make me feel nice. But I focus my efforts on having everything come from within. Like, I can go up on stage and I know, like, I'm there to help. I'm there to give value. I've worked my ass off to get to this point where what I'm saying is worth it to some people. And I know that. So I don't necessarily need someone to tell me that I'm doing great. Like, obviously I'm a human being, and sometimes when I don't get any compliments for a long period of time, I'm like, shit, am I like totally messing it up? And then someone brings in a compliment, I'm like, okay, good, I'm doing it right. But I make sure that anytime someone gives me a compliment, I don't let it feed my ego. I don't let it go to my head. I struggled with that for a long time, as many of us have. I just have it like as a sign of, okay, like what you're doing, right? It's not like you're building your ego like, oh, I'm so great because someone said I was good. It's like, okay, someone gave me a compliment. It just goes to show, like, I'm really serving the people that I'm trying to serve. Like, what I'm doing is really adding value. It's just sort of a reminder. So it's great that you get those consistently.
Awesome. So were you sold one business just recently, or not recently, but in 2019. Right. And that was, of course, a successful business, but were all of them until now, all your businesses were successful?
So that's an interesting question. I would say yes, but not my entire career has been successful, and it's written in my bio. So the first company I started, it was in college. I was 18 at the time. There were 5 of us that wanted to have fun and wanted to give money to charity. And so we started an events company, and we would throw events, like these big parties, and we would charge people to enter. We would get sponsorship, and then basically we would take all the profits and we would donate it to charity. So, that was fun. It was successful. I mean, our biggest event had 800 people. which I think is pretty cool for a couple of 18-year-olds. But it wasn't like anything that made us money, and we didn't sell it. We just one day we were just like, okay, that was an amazing time of our life, but we're moving past that. In my second business, the one that I sold, there were many times when I was building that where it was like, oh, this is the end. Like the business is going out. Like there's just no way that, this is going to be successful. But what's really awesome is what I find is like when you most think you're about to fail is when you're about to have a big success. Like it's just so ridiculous. I don't know why it happens. Maybe it's because when you think you're about to fail, you go into overdrive and you just work 10 times harder and you get that big success. But there were several times in my business where I was like, this is about to go down. And then all of a sudden it's like, wow, this is like totally going the right way. But in my career, I had two jobs where I wasn't being paid. They're called internships. When I was in high school, I had to get an internship in order to graduate high school. It was just part of our syllabus. So, for seniors, they know we're not going to do any work. So like, let's just put them in the office so they actually like learn something. And it's 6 weeks. And I got this one internship. I wanted to be in real estate. I found it really fascinating. And I got an internship at a real estate firm. And one day I'm sitting at my desk. My boss calls me over and she's like, Harrison, we're having an open house tomorrow. I'm going to send you a list. I need you to call everyone on this list and invite them to the open house. So I'm like, sure, no problem. That's easy. So I go back to my desk. The email pops in. I click on the email. The spreadsheet pops up and I look at it and I start scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And there are 2,000 names on this list. And they want me to call 2,000 people by tomorrow. And it's already like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I only have like 3 hours. So I noticed that there were emails on this list. And I'm like, oh, this is easy. I'll just email all 2,000 of them. So I copy all their email addresses. I put them into the to email. I send out the email. And like I did this entire list in 5 seconds. And then I just started like playing some games on my phone. And like an hour later, I get a call and it's the CEO of the company. It's this big bad guy. He's like, hey, Harrison, can I come talk to you? And I'm like, oh, great. I don't know what's going to go on, but you feel the energy in the room and it's like not great. So, I go over and, he says to me, he's like, hey, did we ask you to call some people for an open house tomorrow? And I was like, yeah, you did. There were 2,000 people, which is, a lot of people. So I figured, if I send them an email, we could get all 2,000 people to know about the event. And he's like, well, Harrison, we've been getting calls all day of people who want to be removed off our list. He's like, I know we don't pay you anything and you need this for school, but we can't have you. Like he literally told me, he's like, look, you're worth less than nothing to us. Like, honestly, we pay you nothing and you're worth less than that. And so, that was something that I was like, I need to figure it out. And, it wasn't smooth sailing. There was another job I had after that, that I got fired from that also didn't pay me. So twice in my life, companies, organizations have told me that I was worth less than zero to them. And so that really just kind of was like, put a chip on my shoulder. It's like, shoot, like I can't go through life failing and everything. I need to like really figure it out. I knew I needed to be my own boss. I also learned like I needed to have some sort of purpose to do what I do. The event company, it was fun, but it was for charity. My second business, it was in finance, but, I was someone who's like, I could bring ethics and morality to a business that's missing it. And I could help remove one of the biggest stressors from people's lives. Finance is the number one cause of divorce in the US. So, my vision was I could get in there and I could help people with their finances and save marriages. Like that's why I went into what I did. And I realized like, from my previous failures, like I needed something that woke me up every day. So the second time I got fired, I didn't mention it. I was just unmotivated. Like I would spend lunch out of the office for like 3 hours. And one day they're just like, we don't know where you go. We can't have that stress in our life. So like I realized like I needed to have a why, a purpose, a vision for doing what I do. The food company, we talked about it. The mission statement of our company is, we help those that struggle with weight issues take control of their health and live a more vibrant life by creating products, by creating radically healthy versions of products they already love. That's why I get up every day, is because I want to help those that struggled with something that, took a lot out of me. So those were my failures and the lessons that I learned from them.
And when people want to find you or find Koohlah, does Koohlah have its own website yet or pretty soon?
So Koohlah has a website. It's up. You can put your email address on there. It's not like a pretty website. That's happening over the next month. Mm-hmm. The best way to follow me and to follow my journey. So I speak internationally. People that go to my events, they pay a couple $100. They pay a couple $1,000. And after I speak, I chop those up and I put them on my Instagram. So for people who either couldn't travel to Croatia or to Chile or to Guyana to hear me speak, or they couldn't afford the ticket, they can get the best nuggets from all my talks because I cut them up and I put it on my Instagram. I will also be, informing everyone of when our product launches on mm-hmm. Instagram. So, people who, want to eat junk food that's good for them, who want to start taking control of their health and feeling better. And they want to be informed on our product launch. I'll be informing everyone through my Instagram. And my Instagram is at Harrison Hunter Reid. So Reid is spelled R-E-I-D. Harrison Hunter Reid. And that's how they can, keep in touch. I engage with my followers. Like if you have any follow-up questions, I'm happy to answer them. If you want to, just learn my best nuggets, it's there for free. If you want to be informed when our snack foods are ready to launch, it's there. That's the best place to follow me.
Awesome. So I'll have all of those on the show notes for everybody that's driving or running on the treadmill right now, turning into their healthier versions.
Yeah.
I will have those on the show notes. And also, if you want, let me know when Koohlah goes live, and I'll announce it here on the show too.
That would be really cool, Quinn. Thank you so much for having me, man. Like, it was fun interviewing with you. You're a cool guy. You're a great guy. You have a great attitude. You care so much, not only about like the world and the people, but also we were talking earlier. You talked about like your kids. You're living in a city that's minus 48 degrees Celsius, and I was like, well, why don't you move? I'm living in a city that's 30 degrees Celsius. And he's like, well, my firstborn has a life here. Has friends, has family. This is what he or she knows. And I wouldn't take my kid away from this life, even though there may be better weather every day. So just like the fact that you care so much about your kids, the fact that you care so much about helping people, get out of depression or start their own e-commerce businesses and be successful, like that's so important, right? We need to be more self-sufficient. Like money, it's not the cure-all, be-all, solve-all, but it's important. And, people have it, and you're helping people get money so that they can survive and they can, have a good life, and they can have a good life for their friends and their family. So just like everything you do in this world is so amazing. And I'm just really grateful and humbled to even be on your podcast. Thank you so much, Quinn, for having me.
Harrison, keep talking. Keep talking.
Yeah.
It's a huge pleasure. Thank you so much, Harrison. And thanks for saying those kind words.
Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing good for the world.
Thank you. And we'll definitely stay in touch.
Totally. Looking forward to it.